So usually I like to start these episodes with like a super funny and brilliant story, and it just like it makes the whole audience erupt in laughter, and they're like, "Oh my god, like this guy's the best. He's so funny, he's so brilliant." But unfortunately, I'm not going to do that today. It is not because I couldn't come up with a story, okay? That's not the reason. The reason is not that my life has just been boring the last couple weeks, and I've been trying to think of a funny story to open this episode, and I couldn't think of anything, okay? That is not the reason. I want to make that crystal clear. I have thousands and thousands of brilliant stories. Really, if anything, I should write a book at this point. But then, if I told all the stories on the podcast, what would be the point of reading the book? I gotta save something, you know what I mean? Let's go with that. That's the reason, okay? I haven't just been playing a lot of that stupid Marvel mobile game, Marvel Strike Force, in my underwear, and that's kind of it. That's been my whole summer, okay? I don't want to talk about it. That's not what's going on. But what I will do is we have a couple housekeeping things for director development to kind of just iron out, okay? Just for the future of this show. So one of them is originally directing development has always been scheduled for every other week. So you got Greenlit. I Can't Believe It's Got Greenlit, our other podcast, weekly, and that's me and Nick. And that one, like, we record all the time, and we're now, like, talking to guests of the movies that we cover on that show. And this one, because it's more of, like, me trying to break into the industry, I figure an episode a week might be too much. Because I'm probably not going to have updates every week. You know what I mean? That was a really ambitious goal. So when 2026 came around and we did, like, the QW26 stuff, and we announced Quaywood's big plans for 2026, we're like, okay, 3 short films. Greenlit was bi-weekly, it's now weekly. And director and development, we changed to bi-weekly instead of weekly. Because that gives me now 2 weeks to basically make stuff happen and make content and progress for this show. The only thing is, once again, I've discovered the hard way that 2 weeks is not enough. It is simply not enough. There's only so many times I can hop on like a podcast every other week and be like, hey guys, so I spent the last 2 weeks applying for production assistant jobs and applying for internships, and like I got one interview, haven't heard from them, like got ghosted by all these other ones, or like I might have gotten like a PA gig, but it's like 4 weeks down the road. So the question becomes, what do you do and how often do you record director and development? So moving forward, director and development will have 1 episode a month instead of bi-weekly. That way, instead of like just doing progress of like trying to break into Hollywood and just like really establish Quaywood and me and Nick, etc., instead of updating that every other week with just like, hey, a new Greenlit came out, this time it's like a full month. So I'm like, hey, here's all the interviews I had this month. Here's how it went. You know, here's like if I got a production assistant job or I'm on a set, here's how the set went. Obviously, I won't be able to like say everything because NDAs exist and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? Like if give me a full month, I think I'll actually be able to report cool things instead of every other week where I'm like, do you guys want to talk more about Psychedelic Toad? Like, I don't really have much else to talk about. Is that cool? So, moving forward, directing development, there will only be 12 episodes a year, 1 a month, and it will be the last day of the month, every single month. I think that's smarter. I think. We'll see how it goes. If people tend to like it, then we'll stick with it. If people are like, hey, I want more of this show, then maybe we can try to do like 2 a month. And if no one really cares, then hey, fair enough. I'll just do once a month until someone either approves or like bitches about it. And then I'll just immediately like succumb to their wants. That's exactly what I'll do. So after this episode, we're going to be changing up the structure of how directing development works, especially because the concept of this show is documenting how like me, Nick, and Quaywood are trying to break into Hollywood and break into the industry, right? Especially like somewhat fresh out of film school, haven't been on many like professional sets. Like we're very much still finding our way. However, currently a lot of the episodes have like looked backwards, if that makes sense. For example, this episode. This is why I chose Emerson Part 4. It's Part 4 of a 4-part series. Every new part covers a different year at Emerson, so we're covering senior year today. But like, while it's been fun to talk about old short films like River Fork and Triptych and Mama's Pie, which we'll talk about today, and like just kind of recapping everything we've done up to this point, I do kind of want to move forward, and I want to talk about future stuff and the steps I'm currently taking trying to get Quaywood in, instead of just like, hey, here's what we've done so far. So I think this episode kind of being like a bookend to the structure so far, and then director and development moving forward. One will just be like once a month, but two, the structure will be very, very different. And while me and Nick are still kind of ironing out the details there, so I can't announce a ton, you'll just have to wait until the end of July, I'm afraid. One of the things that we are incorporating, and I'm super, super excited about, I don't care if you're not, I am, is we're going to be doing somewhat movie reviews. And I'm fucking pumped, dude. Because, listen, I do think, not to get on my soapbox for a second, I do think part of like learning film and filmmaking and stuff is like watching just as many fucking movies as you can. Which maybe that's the excuse I give for when I feel like I've been super unproductive, but I've been to AMC like 6 times in 1 week. I'm like, did I just waste a full week of my life at like the age where I should be working super hard? And I'm like, no, I should be watching movies, right? Yeah, sure. I should be watching movies. So I think it'd be fun to talk about movies that have come out, like in movies that I think are good, movies that I think maybe aren't as good and why, and like really breaking them down. Obviously, it would be a somewhat short section, and I'm not sure where we would put it in the show quite yet, but just talking about the current state of movies and the current state of the movie industry and Quaywood's tiny, tiny little place in it. So that will be director and development moving forward, but today is why I chose Emerson Part 4. Like I said earlier, 4-part series. This will be covering senior year. So before we get into senior year, I do believe, I know it's been a while since I've recorded director and development, but last time I checked, we had a pretty badass theme song that definitely doesn't rip off the Avengers. Please don't sue us. I'm sure it's fine. So let's put that shit on. Welcome back to Director and Development, the podcast that does not stop until it is announced I'm directing Avengers 9. Though you know what's fucked up is, as you know, well, maybe, the Russo brothers, Anthony and Joe Russo, my gods, one of many, directed Infinity War and Endgame. So they directed Avengers 3 and 4, and they're directing Doomsday and Secret Wars, so that's Avengers 4 and 5. So they're doing 3 through 5. But, I'm sorry, wait, 3, 4, 5, that's 6! 3, 4, 5, 6! I've said this on Greenlit. My dad's a math professor. It's kind of embarrassing how bad I am at math. It's like shocking. Though, you know what? Not to throw him under the bus. If you, okay, hypothetical, pretend one of your parents was a math teacher. If you grew up your whole life and you get to like 23, 24 and you're terrible at math, is it your fault? You know what I'm saying? That might be on him. I'm not gonna lie. So anyway, they're doing Infinity War, Endgame, Doomsday, Secret Wars. So they're doing 4 Avengers movies. 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 through 6, not 3 through 5. God, that was really embarrassing. That was real embarrassing. 3 through 5. That's like basic edition too. That's bad. Anyway, I just saw it was like, I don't know if it was like a Variety article, or it was like one of those like goofy comic book articles, but I just saw an article that's like, it's rumored that the Russos might also be directing Avengers 7. And I'm like, okay, can we relax? Not that I obviously love the Russos, but if there's 7 Avengers movies, and you could argue there's only been 2 or 3 directors for all 7, because you had Joss Whedon for the first 2, and then if you group the Russos together, that's only 2 directors for 7 movies. So my goal of directing Avengers 9, it might just be literally impossible. I could be like the biggest director on earth. Like if Spielberg wanted to direct Avengers, I'm so serious when I say this. I wonder if like Spielberg walked into Kevin Feige's office and was like, hey, I want to direct Avengers 7 really, really, really bad. Like it will be the last movie I ever do, be my magnum opus. Like this is it. My whole career has been leading to Avengers 7. If they're already like talking to the Russos, do you think they would be like, no? Like, would they be like, sorry, like, we're so committed to the Russos that we would say no to Steven Spielberg to direct Avengers? I honestly don't know. I know that sounds silly, but like, they fucking love the Russos. And for good reason, don't get me wrong, like, for really good reason. but I wonder if they would take such a big risk in changing it up. Or if the Russos are like, hey, we would love to just direct Avengers movies till we die. I think Kevin Feige would be like, fuck yeah, like, let's do it. Like, we don't have to ever look for a different Avengers director ever. So maybe I'll have to direct, like, a Marvel thing. That would be kind of sick. Just any Marvel thing. Because Avengers might just be taken until the Russos die. Which is insane to say. And then, will Avengers even be going at that point? I really don't know. Anyway, welcome back to Director Development, the podcast that does not stop until it's announced that, well, it might not ever be announced. So maybe this podcast will go forever. But if it is ever announced I'm directing Avengers 9, this podcast will cease to exist, okay? There's an expiration date on this thing. Welcome back to the final part of why I chose Emerson, part 4. When I first had this idea, I was like, oh, it'd be fun to do like 4 parts, just like fully recapping Emerson, because I had such a fucking roller coaster of a time at Emerson, and every part would be a different year. I did not realize the massive undertaking that was about to happen. I thought it would be like kind of easy. I'd be like, oh, like, not that these will be lazy episodes of director development, but I was kind of struggling to come up with ideas for episodes, and I'm like, that's an easy 4 right there. So I'm like, let's just do that. And then part 1, I was like, okay, part 1 was a little bit of a chore, but you know, sure enough, we got it done. And then I did part 2, and that's when I started getting into like filmmaking, and I like River Fork hit around part 2. And then I don't remember if Triptych was part 2 or part 3. I think it was part 2, was Triptych. So we did Triptych, and I was like, oh, these stories are going on way longer than I thought. I was like, I have way more to say than I thought. And then part 3 was just like a fucking tank of an episode. That thing is almost... At one point, the edit for Why I Chose Emerson Part 3 was over 2 hours long, which is, like, unacceptable. Nobody on planet Earth needs to listen to me talk almost uninterrupted. Thank God there's guests on this show, but almost uninterrupted for over 2 hours. Greenlit sometimes, like, goes for, like, a long-ass time, but at least I have Nick. Like, I have someone to bounce off of. And then for, like, Summer of Sequels, those are, like, 2.5 hours. But we have a guest. Like, we like, as of recording this episode, we just put out the Wallace and Gromit episode. And, like, we had the cinematographer, and he was super cool. And me and Nick really take a back seat. So, like, audio-wise, it's still interesting. It's not just 2 people talking for, like, 3 hours. But, man, Emerson Part 3, if you got through that whole thing, God bless you. You deserve, like, a fucking trophy or, like, a medal or something. Maybe I'll get you a shirt. I survived Emerson College Part 3, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. How's that? I feel like that could work. I'll make like a baseball tee, and it'll be like the worst quality shirt you've ever had in your entire life. But I feel like that would be awesome. I would wear that. I would totally wear that. So anyway, if this is your first time joining, welcome. Weird time to join in Part 4, but you know what? Fuck it. Maybe you just care about senior year. And if you do, there's no problem there. Welcome to senior year. The structure of these episodes is I first talk about like all the film stuff, because this is a very film-oriented podcast, and then I'll get into like the social side of stuff, which is why Part 3 was so fucking long. A lot happened that year socially. Not good. If you want like a kind of a dark 2 hours, go listen to Emerson Part 3. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I know you probably shouldn't be saying this at the top of the episode. This one's going to be kind of boring. The film stuff is cool because the things that I'm most proud of to this day all happened senior year. But in terms of social stuff, it's going to be a lot of repeating of Part 3. So maybe if you are joining us for the first time, this might be the best episode to join. I think I take back everything I just said. You should listen to this one first. And then if you're really bored and you need something to fall asleep to, go back and listen to Part 1, 2, and 3. Okay, in terms of film stuff, let's talk about the big stuff. Senior year, me and Nick, still besties for the resties, still secretly sleeping together in the nighttime. Don't tell his girlfriend, she doesn't listen to the show. But me and Nick are still rocking together, and it was the two big things we shot senior year were Your Mama's Pie and our first mini-series called Tales from River Fork Community College, which, if you've been paying attention, we made a short film called River Fork Community College. Isn't that interesting? I'll get to that in a second. But Your Mama's Pie, I wrote the summer in between the summer in between junior and senior year. Honestly, Emerson, it all just kind of blends together at one point. I'm really sorry. But I wrote it, and I wrote it in a week, or the first draft at least. I did a thing on my Instagram where it was like my close friend story. And I had the idea for Mama's Pie because the idea started because when I went to Storm King, which, shout out Storm King, fucking amazing school. Junior year, one of the finales for my class, we literally all stood around a fucking fire pit in like medieval Halloween costumes and read a speech that we had to write on a piece of paper. That was legitimately our final. I was in like fake leather and I had a little crossbow and I went up in a little fireplace in front of all my friends and I talked about like my dreams and hopes for the future, which was like, at the time it wasn't even filmmaking. It's like, I want to be in a fucking band. And like, I talked about like how many kids I want and like how I picture them like running down the halls and stuff. But that was the final. And that night, I fucking, it meant so much to me that night. It was such a beautiful night. And I think I was going into senior year of Emerson, and I was kind of just reflecting on my education as a whole and how it was coming to an end. I'm like, oh my God, like it's all been leading to one final year. This is it, which was freaky. It was really freaky to think about. So I was thinking back at Storm King specifically, and I found a bunch of pictures of us by the fireplace. Or not the fireplace, the fire pit. And I was like, oh, it's such a bizarre story. I'm like, that could be a cool short. So I had this like loose idea of a bunch of people standing around a fire pit reading something that they had written, but I didn't have anything else. So to force myself to do it, because I'm just like a lazy asshole, I put on my close friend story. I'm like, hey, I am giving myself 1 week to write a draft of this script. I'm going to make a video every single day. And if you hop on Instagram and you don't see a video from me, you have my full permission to just bully and harass the shit out of me. Like, call me, text me, call me fucking loser, say, like, where's your writing? Like, you fucking suck. And then you know what? It worked. Like, every day I just made a video because I was nervous about getting bullied by my friends. Especially the ones who know me very well, because, like, that can cut deep, fuckers. So I'm like, fuck it. Okay, I kind of have to do this now. And I made a draft in a week. And to be honest with you, the final script my memories is not that much different from draft one. Obviously it is, because later I was dating a girl named Fiona at the time, and she is a brilliant writer. So I sat down with her and we basically took it from the top and we made a draft 2. And then after that, I wrote with Nicole, and me and her kind of merged draft 1 and draft 2, because there was a couple things I was unhappy with in draft 2. But, you know, it was my girlfriend, so I had to be like, oh, that's really good. Mm-hmm. No, she's actually amazing. I feel bad saying that. But me and Nicole sat down, and we made draft 3, and that was kind of the final one. So Mama's Pie happened, and the beauty of your Mama's Pie was it was going to be the last short. Tales from River Fork was not a thing. It was going to be the last short, and it's all about saying goodbye to high school, and in a way saying goodbye to education, whatever, and like friends saying goodbye to each other as I was finishing college. Like, it was such a beautiful kind of full circle thing. And then to top it off, I reached out to Storm King and I was like, hey, can I film on campus? And they were like, fuck yeah, you can. Like, we know you and we love you and you should totally come back and film this. And I'm like, let's go. And then my favorite thing, honestly, I should fucking print it and frame it, but the faculty member I was like in communication with to like arrange the shooting, she no longer works there, unfortunately, but she fucking rocks. And we're emailing back and forth, and I sent her the script. She's like, hey, like, I would totally be down to let you do that. She's like, they always say no to productions on campus. They actually never really let it happen. But because they knew me and we were so small and we're just going to shoot on the weekend at night, so we weren't interrupting classes, weren't interrupting any activities, and we like where we wanted to shoot on campus was so out of the way that like people barely even knew we were there. But she was like, hey, just send me the script just to make sure like we're okay with this. And I'm like, that's totally fair. So I sent her the script. And then I think like the next day, she hit me with like the most beautiful email I've ever read. And she was like, hey, I just read your script and it made me cry. And she's like, I remember like having this feeling when I graduated high school. And so many people have had this feeling when they graduate high school or college or whatever. And she's like, we will make this happen. This has to be shot at Storm King. And I'm like, let's go. Like, that's fucking awesome. But anyway, she fucking rocks, and Storm King fucking rocks, and we were so fortunate and lucky to go back to campus where I spent literally 5 years of my life. I lived there. I was a boarding student, and I I have so many great memories of that place, and I think to the day I die, part of my heart will always be at the Storm King School. So to go back and shoot a script about saying goodbye, which I never got to do because I graduated in COVID too. Like, I never fully got the big graduation ceremony and saying goodbye to all my friends. We all fucked off for spring break, and then during spring break, Storm King emailed us like, yeah, you guys aren't coming back to campus. It's just not safe. So to finally go back to campus and not only have that goodbye for me, but then with this amazing cast and crew. Like, the crew were mostly freshmen because all our other Psychedelic Toad people were busy on other projects. So it's mostly freshmen. And Connor, who acted in Psychedelic Toad, came back for Your Mama's Pie, and I wrote it specifically with him in mind. So cool he came back. The crew was just amazing. I'm still in contact with all of them to this day. Actually, most of the crew is in the Quaywood Collective. Like, if you look at all the people in the collective, 90% of them worked on Your Mama's Pie. And that's how we met them, was Your Mama's Pie. And also, very selfishly, some of them, not all of them, to be fair, but some of them are like, hey, that was my first set, and to this day, it's like still my favorite set I've been on. Like, all the other sets I did at Emerson, like, they weren't like terrible, but they're like, I just had so much fun on that set, and like, you were so much fun, and like, I would work with you again in a heartbeat. And I'm like, that's fucking, are you sure? Maybe it's like you're looking back, it's like a Stockholm Syndrome thing. I really think you got that wrong. But Mama's Pie, oh my God. Such a beautiful experience. Such an amazing experience. Even on set, when like the first day essentially got rained out, but like it would rain for 20 minutes and it wouldn't for 20, and it'd go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So Nick was so fucking frustrated that day. And I think he was just tired, and it was cold, and it was rainy, and it was dark, and he just wanted to go home. And he was like, we should just call it. And I'm like, no, fuck it, we got this. Like, we so got this. I was just so fucking happy to be there. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I'm back at Storm King, and we're filming. Like, I don't want to go home. And I think not only did he get mad at me, there might be a little resentment still carried over from that set. I'm not gonna lie. I think if I sent Nick a script and there was anything that was like in the outdoors, he's like, yeah, you have fun with that. I'm not gonna be there on set that day. Anything indoors, he's game, as long as there's like food and water, which like fair enough. But anything outside, I think he's scarred after the one day of Your Mama's Pie. But Mama's Pie, fucking amazing. 3 days back at my old school, great cast and crew. And I think out of all the short films, is it my favorite? That's really tough. How about this? It was my favorite set. Like, it's not even close. Your Mama's Pie was my favorite set of anything, including Tales and like stuff I've done since, like What If I'm Already Dead and stuff like that, and stuff that's coming out that I can't talk about. But Your Mama's Pie was my favorite set ever. However, I think if I had to pick, like, what do I think quality-wise is better, Psychedelic Toad or Mama's Pie? It's definitely not Triptych or River Fork. Sorry to those two. It might be Psychedelic Toad. Psychedelic Toad's just so much fun, and it's so weird and trippy, which we haven't really done anything super weird and trippy since. But, again, without giving away details, there's something in the works that is very Psychedelic Toad-ish. Of like, it's like an indie quirk, which I like to do, but then there's just like these weird, I hate to say avant-garde because that sounds pretentious, but for lack of a better term, these weird like avant-garde-esque elements to it, and I'm fucking pumped, dude. Like, if it goes the way I'm hoping it goes, it will be the new favorite. But when I look back on both, Mama's Pie, I look back more fondly, but I do think Psychedelic Toad's the best one. I do, which is kind of a bummer because I like everything that I do to just one-up it. Obviously, like, I like to kind of get better and better, and I can admit none of them are perfect. They all have many, many fucking faults and failures, and I'm not the best director ever. You know, I'm still learning. But overall, Your Mama's Pie, amazing. Just an amazing experience. Oh, like, god damn. Tales, on the other hand, is a very different story. Because Tales is 5 episodes, and each, I think, I could be wrong in saying this, but I think each are over 10 minutes. One of them's like 15. So if you add it up, it's almost an hour of content. So essentially, me and Nick were like, hey, let's make a River Fork feature film, which nobody asked for at all. Especially with River Fork, I don't know what the fuck we were thinking. Because River Fork Community College is probably the most divisive thing we've ever done. Because some people either find it hysterical and they love it, and they love Jonah as the dean, and it works. It all works. Like when we first screened it, the laughter was so loud in the room. It was so cool. But some people, including all of my goddamn family members, hate River Fork. Like, they hate Jonah as the dean. They don't find him funny. They think it's too long. It's just like a fucking snooze fest. And then we've screened River Fork twice. One was like for the River Fork premiere, and then one was for Psychedelic Toad. I think I talked about it in part 3. We did The Road to Toad, and we played River Fork, we played Triptych, and then we premiered Psychedelic Toad. And we played River Fork, and it fucking bombed. It bombed. There was a good like 30, 40 people there. There was like a couple chuckles. And it came as 30 minutes. So if no one's laughing, it feels like 30 minutes. Like, that was brutal. So for some reason, me and Nick, I think, like, listen, Mama's Pie we shot in October, I think. And then we had a whole semester and a half left. And we're like, well, Mama's Pie is a nice bookend to everything we shot in college. That's really what we were thinking. Like, if our career in college, like, how do we end it? But then we had this fucking idea of like, well, we started with River Fork. What if we ended with River Fork? Like, everything we've learned from our first short film will apply to this little mini series, and just see the difference and like see how far we've come since the first one. And I'm like, God damn it. I really like that idea. And I'm mad how much I like that idea. Like, it shouldn't be that good. So we came up with tales, all different stories, especially because we couldn't have the dean in all the episodes because Jonah was doing like a semester abroad in Los Angeles. So we only had him for like a very short window. So we came up with like him and little Jimmy stuff. How I came up with that, I couldn't fucking tell you. But me and Nicole Alley sat down, all Quaywood Collective members, shout out Nicole and Alley, and we wrote the beginning for every single episode. And episode 5, it ends with Jonah and the dean and little Jimmy. So we wrote that as well. But everything else in the episode was completely written by different Emerson people. Like, that's why every episode says, like, written by, like, Matthew Roizen, who wrote the first episode, or Stuart Garnis, who wrote Field Day. They really wrote the episode. Like, me, Nicole, and Allie, I think I put co-writing credits because we just wrote the beginning. But they're, like, we didn't come up with those ideas. We didn't come up with dialogue or jokes. Like, that was all independent, which really took a load off me and Nick's shoulders. But we then had, like, pre-production for basically a feature film on our last semester of college. It was just insane. So what we did, in retrospect, it was the best idea Nick has ever had, I think, to this day, besides, being my bestie. Or, when he makes me best man in his wedding, fucker, is he was like, we should probably bring on other producers. He's like, this is too much work for just the two of us. It was impossible. Making 5 shot lists, 5 production schedules, multiple different actors and costumes and props and locations. Like, it was just ridiculous. It was so over the top. And I, like a fucking moron, when I told the writers, like, hey, you can write whatever you want, I didn't say, can you try to keep it relatively, like, low budget and easy to make? Because we're actually going to be making these. I just said, write whatever you want. Go for it. I'll just figure it out. So, like, one person, God bless him, wrote a whole fucking Halloween party. And then the other person wrote, like, a fucking detective noir and a hot dog eating competition. I'm like, how the fuck? How are we supposed to do this? There's no way. You're telling me one day, and like on one Friday, we have to go from a Halloween party, and then that Saturday, I have to cook over 150 hot dogs, get a banner, get all this fucking shit, and make a full hot dog eating competition. And then that Sunday, we have to go to Field Day. How the fuck do you do that? And then one of them was also like, we see River Fork in like 1627. I'm like, God damn it. Now I gotta find a way to do that. But the thing was, all 5 scripts were so good. Like, I basically called up all 5 of those people. I said, hey, do you want to make an episode for the show? I gave them the whole pitch. I said, you come up with anything you want. And all 5 of them, shout out to them, they were so game, and they were so cool. And they're like, dude, we love River Fork. We would love to do this. Like, this sounds like so much fun. And they fucking did it. And, like, those scripts to this day are genius. Like, some of them are so good. Just as scripts, not even as episodes. You would just sit down and read it, and you would just be laughing out loud and just, like, tears in your eyes. Like, I'm so happy I reached out to those 5. Those 5 are brilliant writers. I love them. So, anyway, I could talk about Tales for like fucking hours. But we brought on these two other producers. It was Andy, who's also a collective member, and Lily. And we were like, hey, we just need so much help. And I think we met like twice a week. Twice a week, the four of us got together and we said like, okay, what do we still need left for like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and just like continuing and just breaking down everything. And after months and months and months of work and just ripping my hair out, and many times the four of us were like, we're not going to be able to pull this off. And then separately, me and Nick had like full meltdowns. I think Nick's was first. I want to give myself some credit. I think Nick texted me or called me before shooting, like early. And he was like, dude, there's just no way. And he was just so overwhelmed and so freaked out. I'm like, dude, we got this. And then sure enough, a couple fucking weeks later, I was like, dude, there's no way. There's just no way we can do this. Like, Tales should not exist. So the fact that all 5 episodes exist, and in my opinion, they're not half bad. Like, again, I have problems with everything I do, but I'm like really proud of them. And the rotating cast and crews and everyone just did such a good job on that set and on that project. And I couldn't be prouder. I fucking love Tales from Riverport Community College. I think as a miniseries, it is so much fun. And because it's written by different writers, if you don't find a specific episode funny, guess what? The next episode is a completely different sense of humor. So you might like love episode 3 and think it's the funniest thing ever. You might fucking hate episode 4 and you're like, this sucks and this is not funny. That's the beauty of that show. It is so cool. And we fucking like pulled off, you could argue we pulled off a feature film. I know there's like a huge asterisk marks next to that, and maybe I'm like patting myself on the back too much and giving myself too much credit. I swear I'm not this arrogant. But it is cool that even after Mama's Pie, which was supposed to be the ending, me and Nick were like, well, we started with River Fork. What if we ended with River Fork? And then we did. And we got to collaborate with so many new people and try new things. And we'd done drama at that point for like 3 years. So to go back to comedy was really fun. And yeah, just Tales. Goddamn. So senior year, when I look back in terms of film, is my favorite year. Because 2 things that I had such a great time doing, even if I wanted to like fucking rip my tonsils out of my mouth. So much fun. And I can still genuinely be proud of. And if someone's like, hey, can I see something you've done? If I send them Mama's Pie and Tales, I wouldn't be like shitting my pants. If someone said, hey, I went to go watch your stuff and I watched Triptych and nothing else, I'd be like, God damn it. They think I'm like a fraud. They probably think I fucking suck. I'm like, don't do that. Watch the other ones. Watch the other ones. Just don't do that. But anyway, senior year, that's really a lot of the big film stuff that me and Nick like filmed and accomplished, and just a good bookend. Like if me and Nick never did anything together after that, we could both walk away like happy and satisfied with what we did. But then we decided to step it up and make Quaywood and like turn it into a company and do all this crazy shit, which once again makes us want to rip our hair out of our skulls. But you know what? It's worth it. So, senior year on a more like social, personal level. I'm going to be honest, it's very boring. It's definitely not as drama and juicy filled as part 3. I will say, going into senior year, I was very scared. Especially because junior year had such a fucking terrible trajectory and had such a bad ending. I was just really nervous to go back. I was like, I'm really nervous to be in Boston. I'm really nervous to like just see those people walk in the streets, and like I don't know what they're saying to other people, and like how bad is this gonna be? You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what to expect. And to be honest, I was expecting bad, and I was kind of right. Because, okay, the first semester I stayed at a place in like Eastie, and that was fine. I mean, like the people I lived with, I never got like super close with, and they were fine enough. You know what I mean? Like it was there was nothing really to write home about. It got the job done. I stayed in like this tiny little shitty room. And I stayed in like this little twin size bed that the bed frame, it was like one of those like foldable bed frames. and like in the middle of the night it would just collapse. So I would just wake up in like a bed frame burrito, just like on the ground. I'm like, this rocks. And like the desk was like this little like desk for like a toddler. It was like super low to the ground. It could barely even hold like my laptop, let alone like books and textbooks. So if I ever like wanted to get homework done or do anything, I would pretty much just stay on campus and just like go to the library. So I was basically never in my apartment. Like it was a nice place besides my room, but all my roommates were like becoming friends, or they were friends earlier, and I was kind of like the new one. But I never really got to know them because I was just never there, ever. And it became like a thing because I think it was me and two other guys, and then there's two women. It was the five of us. And the two women, at one point, we had like a group chat, obviously. And anytime like people would come over, it'd be like, hey, is it cool if X and Y come over? But yeah, who cares? I'm not there. And at one point, the women, they were like, hey, to all the guys who live at the apartment. I was like, uh-oh. Like, I think that's how it started. To all the guys, comma. Even though it's a text. I'm like, this is going to be bad. And they're like, we are sick and tired of having to always do the fucking dishes. Like, you guys never do dishes. You guys always just throw it in the sink and we have to clean it or put it in the dishwasher. Like, it's getting gross. It's getting ridiculous. We're doing dishes every single day. And they got so mad. And I remember being like, guys, I don't even really live at that apartment. Like, I don't use a single dish because I wake up, I go to campus, I come back at like 11 at night, and I go to bed. I barely even ate in that kitchen. Because at the time, especially, like, you gotta remember, me and Nicole at this point are like best friends. So classes would get out, and I'd either go to the library and go study, I'd go to like the dining hall, or I'd just go to like Nicole's apartment. So most of the times I was eating dinner with Nicole and her roommates, or just like getting dinner somewhere in Boston. Like, I just never wanted to be in that apartment because my room was so shitty. So I'm like, fuck it. So they got so mad. And I remember being like, what am I in trouble for? And then I think like a couple of days later, like one of them went to go talk to me about it. Like, she's like, they sat all the boys down and they're like, guys, we really need to talk about this. And the other two like tried to come up, I don't know, I don't want to like misquote, but I know one of them tried to not like rewrite history a little, but he was like, oh, you know, I do my dishes, come on, I clean. I'm not saying that the two girls were wrong. They were probably right. But I remember sitting there, not laughing because that would have been rude, but almost laughing in my head. I'm like, why am I here? Like, I barely live here. These people don't know me. I don't eat here. Like, why am I a part of this? And I remember saying something like, well, like, I don't really use the dishes because, like, I don't even eat here. And, like, just for example, in the fridge, everyone had a shelf, and then we had, like, a little cupboard, and everyone had, like, their own little cupboard space. My cupboard space and fridge shelf were literally empty. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, they were empty. And in the cupboard, there was a shelf of stuff left over from the previous tenants that was still good. Like oatmeal or, like, chips. And if for whatever reason I ever ate at the apartment, which was so rare, I would just take something from there, and that was it. And even then, I think I spent a whole semester there. Let's say there was 4 boxes of oatmeal. I think by the time I left, there was still like 3. After a whole semester. That's like 3 months. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I said it. Like, I don't really use dishes. And they got so mad at me. And then it turns out that they like went around and like told everyone like, oh my God, these 3 fucking pigs that we live with, they leave all these dishes everywhere. And it got to the point where I would have like friends of mine who I hadn't talked to in like a year or two. I'd be like just talking to them very casual. I see them at the library. I'm like, oh, hey, it's, you know, Jessica or whatever. I'd be like, Jessica, how are you? And she'd be like, oh, good. And we would just be catching up. She'd be like, so, I heard you don't like to clean dishes. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? There's like this weird rumor that spread that I don't like to clean dishes. So there was that. But besides that, I'm telling you, nothing ever happened in that apartment because I was never there. The only other thing was there was the dish thing, which is super weird. I still don't know like really what I did there. And then all the people from junior year, why I chose Emerson College Part 3, if you need a little refresher, go listen to that. All of those people, kind of like I predicted, went around and basically tried to convert as many people as they could to the anti-Matthew Pelton stance. Like people that were just complete strangers to me. For example, I said I was dating Fiona earlier, and someone in my old group went up to one of Fiona's like really good friends and was like, "Hey, is it true? Like Fiona's dating Matthew?" And she's like, "I think so." Me and Fiona were like brand new at this point. And she was like, I don't know. And she went on like this whole 40-minute tirade about how Fiona, someone she's never even met, and she just met Fiona's friend, how Fiona should like run away from me. Like I'm just a complete fucking monster. And then the best part is Fiona's friend spent like 2 months with this person, and after 2 months ended up fucking hating them. And they're like, she is so annoying. I'm like, yeah, I know. I've been trying to tell people that. So there was that side of it. So a lot of the time when I was like at the library or just walking around campus, it was just hard to know like who knew what, or not even knew, who got told what. Like the name Matthew Pelton really became like a stigma to the point where like I almost didn't even want to introduce myself to new people as me. I'm like, what if I just came up with a fake name? Because like the rumors of Matthew Pelton at this point are so bad and so awful that if people meet me and they're like, oh, you're Matthew Pelton, they're not even going to give me a chance. Like it's just like an instant, oh, this guy fucking sucks. That's what I've been told. Like that's how bad the rumor mill got. Which if you listen to part 3, I think isn't very fair. Listen, I'm not fucking perfect, but I don't think anyone deserves that. I know someone else that also went to Emerson, and he very much went through the same thing. Because Emerson, while I like Emerson, it can be very like cliquey, and you just got to be careful with Emerson. Because if one thing happens, even if you're really not in the wrong, if it's just perceived that way, your whole 4 years could be fucked. It could be a scary place like that. And I'm not the only one that has had this experience at Emerson or with Emerson students of like, it just feels like the whole school is turned on you, and it's just like really scary. So a lot of senior year, I'm just going to be honest, was spent like with my head down. That's why I didn't really get to know my new roommates too much in my first apartment, was because I was scared. I'm like, they fucking have heard stuff. I know who their friends are. And they are friends with people who like fucking hate me. So I can't even imagine what they've heard. So I'm like, I'm just gonna coast. I'm just gonna focus on like Mama's Pie and Tails and not really worry about like making new friends. I think senior year, I don't think I made a single new friend. It was like whoever was my friend after the whole junior year debacle. I'm like, you guys stuck with me through all of that. I'm fucking ride or die, dude. Like, you are my crew. I don't give a fuck about anyone else. I don't give a fuck about meeting anyone else. Like, I'm just with you guys. So that was semester 1, essentially in a nutshell. Was not only did people think I was a monster, but then they also started to think I was a slob. For nothing. For doing fucking nothing. And if you know me, I'm one of the cleanest fucking most organized people ever. Like, at Storm King, I literally won an award for having the cleanest dorm on all of campus. Not just amongst men. Everyone. I beat everyone in that competition. So the fact I was so blown away when that one girl was like, heard you don't like to clean dishes. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's such bullshit. So moving on to semester 2. Semester 2, again, I gotta be careful how I talk about this, but Nicole went to go do a semester in Los Angeles, and I took her room. So essentially, I moved in with Nicole's roommates. Now, Nicole, who I love to death, didn't really leave me in the best spot because she left kind of on bad terms with both her roommates. And even though both her roommates like me, they know that I'm best friends with Nicole. So it was like this weird, like the second I moved in, you could instantly tell it was off. Of like, we don't really feel comfortable around this guy because if we can't talk super openly because he talks to Nicole every single day, which at that point I was. Me and Nicole were on the phone every single day for like hours on end, just being like, can Emerson end? Can we just get this over with? This sucks. It started off with just this weird tension, and then as the months progressed, it just got worse and worse and worse. I will say also that apartment was also terrible because it was right in Chinatown and it was like super low to the ground. So any little noise that's happening on the on the streets of Boston, you heard. it wasn't like the Emerson dorms where like you could be on floor 11, so you're only hearing stuff if it's like really loud. But for some reason, there was this fucking garbage truck that would come every day. Not sure how that works. He'd come every day at 3 in the morning, and he would drive right by my window, and he had the loud, like, you know when like a truck is reversing, it's like beep, beep, beep. It'd make that noise at 3 in the morning right outside my window every fucking night. Every night. So not only was I with people that kind of didn't like me, but then I couldn't fucking sleep. It was the worst thing ever. And again, like, with those two people, it really got worse. To the point, like, the last, like, 3 weeks of me in that apartment, the three of us were not on speaking terms. And to this day, they don't talk to me. They don't talk to Nicole. One of them is, like, was, like, Nicole's friend for, like, 9 years. And they don't speak to each other. Like, and nothing, I feel bad because I'm sure someone listening to this is like, well, what happened? Nothing really. Nothing. There's not like a specific thing that happened. It was just this weird building tension that just kept building and building and building until I think finally a decision was made on all fronts that all of us were like, okay, this fucking sucks and you suck. And then the other person was like, well, you suck. And even though it was never spoken out loud, it was very clear that the second I moved out, none of us were going to talk to each other ever again. It was in the air. You know what I mean? So there was that semester, which I was hoping that apartment I would have like more fun and feel more at home than I did in the last apartment. To be fair, the last apartment was a lot of my own fault because I was just really nervous, like meeting people, which is very rare for me. But this apartment ended up being much worse because I couldn't sleep. And it was people that like actively didn't want me there and were like, this guy fucking sucks. And I'm like, this is fun. This is fun to spend 3 months in, dude. Like, what are we doing? And it became a thing where, like I said earlier, we were doing Tales and there was so much pre-production. And I was like, hey, we can meet at my apartment for a couple of them. But after a while, all my friends, like Allie, Nick, Andy, Lily, all these people, they were like, hey, we kind of don't want to go to your apartment anymore because, like, we really feel unwelcome by your roommates. Like, it's such an unwelcoming environment that we would rather meet in, like, a fucking Emerson study room than, like, go to your apartment and, like, hang out, have fun, and, like, get work done. Like, no one wanted to come over. I stopped having guests come over. I had, like, no friends would come over. I would just go to, like, their apartment or their dorm. So, once again, by the end, I spent most of my time not in that apartment. I was like never there. I've learned that's my go-to strategy. If I'm living in a place where I'm like, this kind of sucks, I'm just like, okay, how can I literally spend as much time as possible not in this place or with these people? And then I just do that and it works. So socially, senior year obviously was better than junior year because goddamn, but not by a lot. You know what I mean? I went in kind of fearing the worst of like, okay, like there's going to be a huge stigma around my name and no one's going to really want to talk to me and this is going to go really poorly. And that is kind of what happened. Obviously, I was optimistic and hopeful and like I have my people. I was like, I have Nick, I have Nicole, like they will carry me and I'll be okay. Like they're the best friends anyone could ask for. And they were. They're there for me every step of the way. And just like getting these projects done and having that like beautiful full circle moment with Your Mama's Pie and then bookending it with Tales, which is just this crazy, like just massive amounts of work. It should not have been able to get made, but we did it. Like those highlights and those positives really like in retrospect, I could be like, no, I had a good senior year only because of those things. Like sure, there were negatives, but man, like the stuff I was able to do and like being with those friends at that time, fuck yeah. Because those guys fucking rock. And I like really discovered my like, I know I already said it, but like my ride or dies. I fucking love that term because that's what it is. Those guys are my fucking ride or dies, dude. Because when they should not have been friends with me publicly, like it was literally ruining their image to be my friend, they were still fucking there. They didn't fucking go anywhere. So I'm like, you guys are fucking real ones for that. Thank you. But anyway, that's kind of the extent of the social stuff of Emerson College senior year. And then, listen, I graduated and I fucked off and I moved to Los Angeles. And I've never been back to Boston since. And to be honest, I only have like a handful of Emerson people I still talk to. It's probably on one hand. Because I look back at Emerson. Looking back, right? I had great times at Emerson. And I had great times at Boston. And part of me will always love Boston, even though I'm afraid to step foot in it. And part of me is very grateful for my time at Emerson, especially because at this point, at 24 years old, I really like who I am now. For the most part, no one's perfect, you know what I mean? We're all working on ourselves. But I really like who came out of it, and I really like the lessons I learned coming out of it. And while it's fucking sucked to go through it, I'm glad I did in the end. And there are so many genuinely great memories I have of Emerson, even with the people who I'm not friends with now. I look back at them and I'm like, peace and love, man. I hope you're doing good. We had a good stretch and like I have great memories with you. And sure, did it end in a fucking tornado? Sure. You know what I mean? But like, still, it doesn't take away from the good memories we had. Like, we still had great times together and nothing can ruin that. It's impossible. It's a great time, and I was very isolated, you know what I mean? And that's it. So, Emerson College, as a full recap, parts 1 through 4, that is why I chose Emerson College, and that was my full, very extensive and long experience at Emerson. So now that Emerson is fully in the rear view, this 4-part series is done. Let's fucking go. If you listen to all 4 all the way through, Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, I'm serious about this t-shirt idea. I'm not sure how you'd prove it, but if you could somehow prove you listened to all 4, what the fuck? 1, what the fuck is the matter with you? But 2, thanks. I'm glad you did. I hope there's something interesting. Hopefully it was entertaining. You know what I mean? A nice little trip down memory lane, if you will. Kind of recapping Emerson, recapping me and Nick, and how we all got here to Quaywood and to June 27th as of recording. So the question becomes, now what? Now that I moved to Los Angeles, Emerson is done. I've told you why I chose it. I told you every single little detail that happened at Emerson. Now what? Now, not to tease you, I'm really sorry. But obviously, like I said in the beginning, a lot of this is going to be covered in the next episode. And moving forward, in the future of director development, it's going to be a lot of modern day stuff. We've recapped everything. We've gone over everything. You can watch the shorts. You can listen to the episodes. It's all there. It's all available. So let's move on. Let's go to the future. Let's talk about Quaywood. Let's talk about trying to break into the industry. So a couple things since the last time I talked to you. 1, I am now a production instructor at SoCappa, which has been very fun. If you don't know, SoCappa is like an artsy summer camp. They have like photography and film and stuff like that. So I am a film production instructor. I am on a lot of people's first ever sets, just helping them set up equipment, how to direct, how to do sound, how to work with actors, all that fun stuff. So will there be an episode on that in the future? Fuck yeah. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. So just know that is coming down the pipeline. And also a lot of production assistant stuff. Probably not what you're thinking, but there has been developments. That's all I'm going to say for now. But I'm excited to move forward. I'm excited to talk about what I'm trying to do now to bring into the industry and the steps I'm currently taking. And I'm excited for the future of directing development. But for now, if for some reason you want to hear more of me just ramble on and on and on, I do have another podcast with the beautiful and lovely Nick Warner called I Cannot Believe This Got Greenlit. We should rename it. It's actually called I Can't Believe This Got Greenlit, but I like to use its formal name. I Cannot Believe This Got Greenlit. So you can check us out there if you want to watch any of the shorts or the mini-series that we talked about on this episode. All of it is available on Quaywood Productions, on our Quaywood Productions YouTube channel, as well as our website. So go fucking ape shit. Go watch everything. If you like us, go like us and support us. We're very small, so we need all the help we can get. If you don't like us, tell tell us. You know what? Listen, like on YouTube, there's like that comment thing. So even if it's a bad comment, I think it still like helps us in the algorithm. So tell us if you think we're fucking shit. You know what I mean? Why not? Go for it. We'll take it. But anyway, thank you for listening. We will see you in the next episode a month from now. Don't forget, mark your calendars, end of every single month. Director in Development. See ya!
This has been a Quaywood audio production.